Practical SQL Server 2012 Administration and Programming, Select Statement, Cross-Tab Queries using Pivot and Case. So a pivot operator is automatically transforming rows into columns, and we can use case expressions as well to achieve similar results. Let's consider to start with a CTE with row number. The row number is called a ranking or windowing function. It's associated with the over clause. In this case, we are only using order by, we are not using partitioning of data. Let's execute it. And this is the result set, 60 rows. We are using two CTs in this query. First CT is defining employee data. The second is defining manager data. And we are also using organizational node, which is organizational ID, and organizational ID functions. It's a complicated query, so let's check out the results. Execute. So Ken Sanchez is the CEO of AdventureWorks Cycles, so there is no manager, that's why it's null. And for the rest of the employees, we see the manager listed. This is a pivot query creating a cross-tab report revenue. So first we define the input to the pivot, and we define it as a CTE. We can execute it independently, and we have lots of rows. Let's pivot the data. The pivot also summarizes the data. That's why we have the aggregate function. Execute. And now we have only 266 rows. Although we have 5 columns, but the main reason for the reduction is the summary. We can do similar cross-tab query with pivot for products sold. In this case, we are summing over order total, which originates with order quantity. In sales order detail table, execute, and this is the result. This is a simple group by query where we are grouping by year and month. Now, whenever we want to group by month, we have to be very careful. We should always include the year, because as soon as we go over a year, when the results become meaningless just for aggregating for month. So the safest is always to include year. There may be some rare requirements that we don't really care about the year. In that case, we can get monthly statistics by omitting the year. Sales staff cross-tab query. We start with a CTE as well. This is the end. Now these are static queries. We see lots of hardwiring. I mean, what if the data changes when we would have to change a query? That's why there is dynamic SQL available to make the queries dynamic. But this is the basis for the dynamic queries. That's why it's important that we learn how to do it statically. Vendor by month. Sales cross tab. Execute. So these are the months and these are the vendors. Sales by year by category. Multi-dimensional query. And here is a multi-dimension. One is by product name and the other dimension is by category. And we list the revenue by year. We go one more level. We go category, subcategory, product by year. So we have a hierarchy, three-dimensional query. So we have a product, we have a subcategory, and the category. We are storing query results in a temp table by select into. We always have to put the into in front of the from. Execute it and select from it, and then dropping the temporary table, and this is the result. We can do cross tab with a case expression, change the database context to Northwind, execute. Well, it looks pretty similar when we did with pivot. This is an alternate way of doing it. Also with case we have more flexibility. Pivot we have to follow the format. This is another cross tab query with pivot with case. Execute. This is a pivot operation, and we are creating a temporary table with select into, execute. And this is our temporary table. It has 4 rows. And the following is the unpivot operation. So we transform columns into rows. Execute. and we got 13 rows after the transformation. We can drop the temporary table explicitly, or if we end this session, the temporary table will go away automatically. Recapping, the pivot operator and the case expression can be used to build cross-tab queries. Cross-tab means that rows are transformed into columns. The queries which we prepare with pivot or case are static. That means the columns are hardwired. To make them dynamic, because that's the practical use, dynamic, we don't want to go back to the same program and changing it from year to year as there is a new year, for example. We have to use dynamic SQL. This is the end of the unit.